everybody. This is another video I am making to go over factoring trinomials with what I call the X factor method. It is, to me, my preferred method in solving trinomials, especially ones with leading coefficients greater than 1. So we're going to dive in and go over a couple important things we need to know and then do some practice together. Starting with all the trinomials we are factoring are in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And all the problems we're going to do are either going to be in the form where a is 1 or a is a number greater than 1. Okay, and we call a, this is called our leading coefficient. Our leading coefficient. We know a coefficient is the number in front of a variable being multiplied by the variable, but this is our leading coefficient, okay? And so if we have a problem where the leading coefficient is 1, eventually we want to get to a place in our ability to do this where we can do the guess and check method on this, okay? So for example, I'm going to give you a pretty straightforward one. What if I gave you x squared plus 14x plus 24? So in this particular problem, my leading coefficient is 1. All right, so I don't really have to worry about that. We know that that means this is going to factor to a 1x times a 1x, because 1x times 1x is 1x squared. That's pretty easy. We just have to worry about these last two factors. So with these last two factors, what I'm doing is I'm looking for factors of 24. They're going to add up to give me 14. So if you need help doing this, you're going to make a list of your factors of 24. There is 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 4, and 2 and 12, 3 and 4, not 3 and 4, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6, okay? Those are my factors of 24. Well, 12 and 2 will give me 14 when I add them up. So that means my answer is x plus 2, x plus 12, okay? So this is called the guess and check method. It works really well for this type of trinomial. The problem that comes around is when we see trinomials that have leading coefficients greater than 1. So for example, let's say I gave you this problem right here. Let's say I gave you 4x squared plus 38x plus 70. Okay, so in this particular problem, you are first going to have to factor out GCF. Okay, so we always see if we can factor out GCF. Well, 2 comes out of all of these. So I'm on the 2x squared plus 19x plus 35. And now I'm looking not only for factors of 35, I'm also going to consider factors of 2, and this is a lot more complicated of a problem. So what I introduce is the X factor method. Now the X factor method works for both of these types of problems every time, no matter what, okay? To this day, I do ones like this with the X factor method. I do ones like this in my head. I do these with the X factor method. It's totally your call. If you're somebody who's able to see this and able to come up with these answers really, really quickly, awesome. You can do them all by guess and check. But if you're struggling, the X factor method, which I'm about to show you, is going to be a lot easier, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start. I'm going to leave the ax squared plus bxc up here, and we're going to look at an example together. We're going to have a more basic example, and then we're going to go from there and just keep building. So before we actually do an example, what I want us to do is we're going to make 4 x's, and we're going to talk about these really quickly. So here's our 4 x's and some important rules that are going to make more sense when we start practicing. So first rule is if your top number and your bottom number on your x factor are both positive, that means both of my factors are going to end up being positive, okay? If my top number is a positive number and my bottom number is a negative number, that means they're both going to be negative. That means 2 numbers multiplied to give me a positive, added up to give me a negative. All right, if the top number is negative and the bottom number is negative, that means we have a larger negative number and a smaller positive number. So that means we have a negative and positive numbers that multiply to a negative, but added up to a negative as well. And last but not least, if we have a negative on top and a positive on bottom, that means we have a large positive number and a small negative number. So they multiply to give me a negative and add it up to give me a positive, okay? So that helps us with these problems. So we're gonna do example 1 together. Example 1 is gonna be a basic one. Let's do a basic one, and then we'll build on that. So we're gonna start with, let's start with, why not this one? M squared minus 15m plus 50. Okay, so this is our first example. So example 1. So we want to factor this. So some of you guys, you are going to be able to do this right in your head and give me the factors. And we know these trinomials factor into 2 binomials. Okay, so some of you are going to be able to go straight from this to this. If you can't, here's the X factor method. Step 1 is we list our ABCs, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at this list, A, B, C, and we're gonna say, okay, well, what matches up here? Well, in this particular problem, I don't see any coefficient in front of M squared, so that means it's understood there's a 1 right there. B is gonna be the number in front of just M, so that's gonna be negative 15. And then C is a positive 50. So we're going to make the X factor for step 2. And here's how the X factor works. The X factor, we do A times C on top, B on the bottom. So it's going to be 1 times 50 on top, and then negative 15 on the bottom. So what we're doing is we're looking for factors of 50 that add up to negative 15. And we have a positive and a negative. So a positive and negative says that both of these are going to be negative numbers, okay? They're gonna be negative numbers. Let me see if I can grab another color. All right, so they're both gonna be negative numbers. All right, so what are 2 factors of 50 that add up to negative 15? Well, if you need to, you grab your calculator, whatever you need to, and you make a list of the factors of 50. So they're both gonna be negative, so it could be negative 1 and negative 50. Those are gonna add up to negative 15. It could be negative 2 and negative 25. Okay, that's not gonna work. 3 doesn't go evenly into 50, neither does 4. But negative 5 and negative 10 does, and hey, those will add up to negative 15. So our factors are negative 5 and negative 10. Okay, so that was step 2. Step 3 is we make our fractions. Now, this step of the fractions is what confuses a lot of people. You know, this is just a way for us to organize our information to get the right answer. So we always make our fractions. A always goes on top, and then our factors, factor 1 and factor 2, go on the bottom. So when I do this, A is on top, so we're gonna do 1 on top of each of these, and then our factors are gonna be negative 5 and negative 10. It does not matter the order. You can do the order however you want to do the order, okay? So we always check if we can reduce these. These do not reduce, they do not simplify. That means we can go straight to our answer, and here's how we go to our answer, okay? So when I go into my answer, what's going to happen is this is going to be my first term in front of the variable. So we've got 1m. This is going to be my second term, and that's going to be negative 10. This is my next term, and that is 1m. And this is my next term, and that is minus 5. So my answer here is going to be m minus 10 times m minus 5. And the reason I do not write the 1m is it's understood. In math, we understand that that's there. So it's understood to be there. This is my final answer. If you want to check it, if I want to check it, I can always FOIL it back out, and I can say m times m is m squared. M times negative 5 is negative 5m. Negative 10 times n is negative 10m, and negative 10 times negative 5 is positive 50. These are going to add up m squared minus 15m plus 50. It checks off exactly what our original question was. So that's how we do this method. Then you're like, well, I could have just done that in my head. That's awesome, and that's great. And for this one, I encourage you to try to learn how to do that. But the harder ones, add a little bit more of a challenge to that, okay? So let's do another one. Let's do a harder one where this X factor method really is gonna come in handy here. So we'll do one hard one, and then I'm gonna put 3 up on the board and let you guys pause the video and try them, and then check your answers. Okay, so we're gonna do example 2. Example 2 is gonna be, I covered it up, 3x squared plus 17x plus 10. So we're gonna do example 2 just like this. So this is a little bit different because that leading coefficient is 3 instead of 1. So we're gonna do our ABCs first. So A here is 3, B is 17, and C is 10. Step 1 was do your ABC. Step 2 is we're going to make our X factor. Step 2 is we're going to make our X factor. Okay, so on the top is A times C, and then on the bottom is B. So what is A times C? Well, 3 times 10 is 30, and B is 17. Okay, so we're looking for factors of 30 that give me 17. Now, they're both positive, so that means I am looking for 2. Y'all know what I did over here? I said they're both 2 positive numbers. These are both positive. Woo, that threw me off there. 2 positive numbers. Okay, so we're looking for 2 positive numbers. So factors of 30, there's 1 and 30, there's 3 and 10, there's 2 and 15, and 2 and 15 would be my 2 numbers that add up to 17. Okay, that's 2 and 15. All right, step 3 is we make these fractions. Now, this is where this kind of problem is where those fractions are going to come in handy, okay? Because the numerator is always going to be A. So in this case, we've got 3, and we've got 3, and our denominator is going to be our factors 2 and 17. Now, my question to you, sorry, I'm making all kinds of errors. 2 and 15, my goodness. 2 and 15, you're like, wait, I was confused. 2 and 15. See, even I make mistakes. 2 and 15. So look at this. 3 halves does not simplify at all. Leave it alone. But 3/15 does to 1/5. Okay, so now that we have these 2 simplified fractions, we're going to use these fractions to do step 4 and to write my final answer, which is these 2 binomials. So this comes first, and we have 3x. Then we have a 2, and it's a positive 2, so we put plus 2. Then we're going to use the simplified fraction. We're going to have 1x, which we know we just write as x, and a positive 5, so it's plus 5. This is my factored answer. So 3x squared plus 17x plus 10 factors to 3x plus 2 times x plus 5. Okay, so what I want us to do is I'm going to put 2 problems up here. I want everyone to try these 2 problems. Pause the video, try them by yourself, and then we'll check them together. Okay, so these are our 2 examples we're going to do. 2x squared plus 22x plus 56. And 4x squared minus 13x plus 10. All right, I will give you a hint on this one. And this is true for every problem we do. Always check first for a GCF. Always check for a greatest common factor. So what I want you all to do is pause this, try it the best you can, try to get to that final answer, and then resume the video and see, check your answer. Okay, so I'm going to pause it. And I'm going to give her a second to do this, and then we'll come back to check her answer. Okay, so hopefully you have paused this, you have worked both of these out, and you're ready to check your answers. So we're going to start with example 3. So when I look at example 3, I notice that 2, 22, and 56 are all even numbers. So that means I can factor a 2 out of all 3 of these. So I factor a 2 out, I'm left with x squared plus 11x plus 28. 28, okay? So when I take my ABCs for this problem, I'm going to take them from the factored form after taking out the GCF. So I've got the 2 out front. Don't forget about this guy. We don't really need him right now, but we're going to come back to him. All right? So I don't know if y'all just heard that. Dewey and the dog are about to go at it. So what we're going to do is first we're going to do our ABCs. We're going to do A, B, and C. So in this particular problem, A is 1, B is 11, and C is 28. Okay. Then we're going to do our X factor. And again, A times C. So whatever A is times C. So 1 times 28 is 28. Goes on top. And B goes on the bottom. Okay. All right. So now what we're doing is looking for factors of 28 that give me 11, okay? So they're both positive, so we're looking for 2 positive factors. So factors of 28 that give me 11 are 7 and 4. And now we're going to make our fractions. So our fractions in this case are going to be 1 divided by 7 and 1 over 4. And we're going to write our answer now. Now, here's the key. So we have our answers going to be 2 binomials, but because we took out this GCF in the beginning, this dude's got to come down and he's got to be part of our answer. We can't forget about him. So I realize y'all can't even see the answer. Hold on. I can't forget about him. So now I have neither of these simplified. So I've just got 1x plus 7 and 1x plus 4. And this is my answer in complete factored form. Okay? Hopefully you got that right. If you get that right, give yourself a pat on the back. Good job. All right, example 4. We do example 4. All right. First check for GCF. I do not see GCF for 4, negative 13, and 10. So we're going to go right into our ABCs. All right, A, B, and C. A is 4, B is negative 13, and C is 10. All right, my second step is I'm going to make that X factor, and as always, A times C is on top, B is on the bottom. So 4 times 10 is 40, and then negative 13 is on the bottom. So factors of 40 that give me negative 13. So this one is a positive on top and a negative on bottom, so it's going to be 2 negatives. So they're both going to be negative. So what are factors of negative 40 that give me negative 13? Well, there's negative 1 and negative 40. That doesn't work. Negative 2 and negative 20, no. 3 doesn't go to 40. There's negative 4 and negative 10. All right, negative 5 and negative 8, though. Negative 5 plus negative 8 will give me negative 13, okay? So that is where we're going to get started at. Now, keep in mind, the order doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one you do where, okay? So next, what we're going to do is we're going to make those fractions, okay? So as always, A always goes on top of our fractions. So in this case, we've got 4 and 4. And then we're going to have negative 8 and negative 5. And what we want to do is we want to check that they simplify. Well, 4 and negative 5 do not simplify, but this one will simplify to 1 and negative 2. So now that they're totally simplified, we can write our answer. We can do step 4. So our answer is going to be 2 binomials. So it's going to be 1x. So remember, we just understand that's x minus 2. And then 4x minus 5. And these are our answers. These are our answers. And that's what we got. So hopefully you're doing good with this. Hopefully factoring trinomials is making more sense. You need to do as much practice with this as possible. This is a skill that's going to carry you through so many math classes. So I mean into college. So keep in mind that this is important. We need to understand it. If you have any questions, let me know. And good luck practicing factoring trinomials.